Alright, this stupid cord to get out of the way. Looks good. Put this away. Take out one of my headphones so I can hear myself. Put it inside my pocket. Definitely got some news to share and a story to tell. Just make sure everything is still good. Yep. Alright, so let me set the table. It's April 18th, 8:09 a.m. This was our earliest start so far. However, Dad, aka Snowbird, still was a bit disappointed, I think, that we didn't start earlier. There had been talk about 7:15, but we got out closer to 7:35. But progress, we're making progress. So, yesterday we had a good hike. A lot of varied scenery, a lot of difficult and easy parts. But anyway, I think Dad can hear me. Got into the shelter last night, and very shortly after setting up camp, it was pretty late. It was a long day yesterday, 22.6 miles. But very quickly after we got there, I saw that one of the people who was hammocking close to the shelter was throwing up. It looked like diluted red Gatorade. Blood? Question mark? I'm not sure. So I was very put off by this, and all of my alarms went off, and I was like, fuck, I really don't want to stay here. Really, really don't want to stay here. And everyone was kind of poking fun at me because it was so obvious that I was uncomfortable, and I was already questioning everything I had done at the campsite. Did I set up my tent where someone had been previously sick? Did I touch something on the picnic table that someone who was sick had touched? Was I now a ticking time bomb for the sickness that really is my only fear out here? Getting norovirus and, Jesus, deep mud. Getting sick and, not only just the physical part of that, which is something I really hate. Throwing up is not something I enjoy at all, but also the social cost. You lose your group, you lose your pace, you lose your motivation to continue on, at least until the sickness passes. And with something like norovirus, if conventional wisdom is to be believed, it takes about 1 to 3 days to pass through your system, depending. So I saw that guy, was very, very upset by that. So I kind of, pulled into myself for 30 minutes and then decided just to obsess over building the fire so that I could occupy my mind. And that helped, and that worked. And there is something cleansing about the smoke of a fire. So that helped. And there was a bunch of jokes around the fire. We have a new guy who could potentially join our group named Compton, and he was there. And there's another guy named Steady who was pretty funny. Just like a quick-witted dude who always had a comment for something, anything that was said. So, interestingly, went to bed, made a pretty long journal entry about how I was worried about being sick and how I was shocked that, in the presence of it, I guess I wrote this, but to say it again, it's just like, if you have a phobia of something, it makes sense that other people who don't have that same phobia wouldn't fear it. However, health is something that we all take for granted. And so it's hard to imagine most people wouldn't be put off by someone who is sick and worry for their own health. But obviously, I have a past of being worried about my own health, kind of all fostered by me seeing my grandfather dying of cancer back when I was like 5 or something. Just old enough to recognize what was happening and to see the face of true misery, and to have that sort of paint the canvas of the rest of my life, my concept of sickness. So, I wrote a very emotional entry in my book, and then went to bed hoping that every gurgle of my stomach was because of my typical overeating and not because of some terrible fucking monster virus that I had accidentally picked up and then ingested. You know, Joe Rogan says, you know, you want to stay healthy, keep your hands the fuck away from your mouth. And so I did that as much as I could after the fact of seeing this guy get sick. I think it was after I'd eaten. So, in fact, I'm sure it was, because I sat at the picnic table when we ate dinner, and I would not have done that if I had seen that guy throw up first. I would have sat somewhere that looked neutral and previously unsat upon. So, anyway, crawled into bed, said my prayers, hoped for the best, clutched my Pepto-Bismol and Imodium. Not really. It was in my bear bag hanging. And went to sleep. Then woke up sometime between midnight and 2, and I heard breathing, labored breathing, and the crinkle crunch of a Sawyer water bottle being drank. You know, you have to squeeze the bottle to get the water to flow through it. And so I heard this breathing and this water consumption, and I recognized the breathing. I was like, oh man, last time I threw up, which was thankfully only because I overate, I was breathing like this. It wasn't my breath, mind you. But it was McQueen, aka Pooh Bear, aka Brett. Somehow he got infected last night. And, you know, I'm obsessing over reasons and, you know, explanations, stuff that isn't helpful to the situation at all. So I've tried not to bring it up too much this morning as we make our way forward without McQueen, which is sad. There's definitely a noticeable somberness to this morning because he had to stay at camp. He just didn't feel well. But I woke up when I heard him throwing up, and I'd previously been trying to ignore it and just hoping that he was doing some kind of a weird, I don't know, sleep that I hadn't previously heard him go through before. And when I heard him throw up, though, I was like, oh, fuck. Like, I gotta go help him, see if he's okay. So I got up, went out, waited for a bit as he continued to throw up. And then I walked over to him, asked him if I could get him anything. You know, I have Pepto-Bismol, and I have, like, Imodium, and that's basically it, symptom controllers. And so he said he didn't want any of that, but he asked for some water, so I filled up his water, gave him another liter, unfiltered. And he eventually made his way back. He didn't get out of his tent again to go throw up, but he was in a pretty sorry state this morning, which, again, you know, this is, every time we've talked about our greatest fear, for me, being sick is the thing that I return to, because I just hate being sick. It's just such a bummer. You know, I'm pretty much, you know, full steam ahead, all engines blaring in my daily life. And so when I have something that forces me to be immobile, that really takes a toll on my morale. And so McQueen was left. He said he was going to try to get a bit more sleep and then cautiously take in some fluids and some solids, some food. And so we're out here without him. It's just 3 of us, which is how it was for a few days before we eventually met up with Pooh Bear again. But it just feels different. It's sad. Forrest, Allie, was saying that she thought it was me throwing up. But thankfully, it wasn't. It's just crazy to think about the chances. I basically deduced that, you know, the guy who was sick that I saw throwing up after dinner, I'm guessing he probably went to the privy or touched something that Pooh Bear happened to touch. And, you know, he ate dinner and probably consumed that viral load and then got sick. It really sucks. I feel really bad for him. I'm reminded of the Christopher Hitchens quote where he alters, there but for the grace of God go I. And he says, that's bullshit. It's there, but for the grace of God goes someone else. You know, you're always happy when it's that Schadenfreude feeling when, you know, I wouldn't say I'm enjoying the misery of others, but I am thanking my fucking lucky stars it wasn't me. And to that end, certainly happy. It's not a good happiness, though. It's not even a happiness, really. It's more just like a thankfulness for what it's worth. But anyway, I think we've all sworn off privies, and we're going to bypass the shelter tonight. Fuck all that. Go for a campsite. Do another 20-plus mile day. And the good thing about McQueen, Pooh Bear, he's already caught us once. This guy can put in some big days, so hopefully it won't be too hard for him to catch us again. And so that's the morning report. I got Dad coming up behind me. So yeah, man, there but for the grace of God goes someone else. And yeah, hopefully he's the only casualty of our group. Gotta keep those fucking hands out of your mouth. Bye for now.